as seaworthy as an LCIL. She's among the smallest seagoing vessels to cross an ocean under her own power. She packs plenty of get up and go in 2 quads of diesel engines acting on twin variable pitch propellers. She has a maximum of 1,800 horsepower. She's no favorite even on a fast track, but 10.5 to 12 knots cruising and 16 knots maximum speed gets her there in plenty of time. With this ship, firepower is more important than horsepower. Her business is to deliver rapid support fire. For such a business, she mounts a 3-inch 50 caliber local control dual-purpose gun at the bow. Or, notice therefore, she may mount a single 40mm anti-aircraft gun on the bow or a twin 40mm AA gun in that position. At any rate, there's always a twin 40mm gun in number 2 position, which may be aimed and fired from the con or from the bucket immediately forward of the con by means of a Mark 51 director, 1 for each twin 40 if there are 2 on the forward section. In addition, she carries light automatic weapons. Midships on the superstructure deck, 3 men serve each of 2 20mm anti-aircraft machine guns, 1 on the starboard and the other to port. Each 20 is fitted with a Mark 14 gyro sight, which, if properly used, eliminates the guesswork in anti-aircraft gunnery. On the main deck aft, there are 2 more 20s fitted with Mark 14 sights, 1 on each side, port and starboard. So that gives us 4 20mm guns. Each one can fire 7.5 rounds in 1 second. That's 450 rounds a minute. Finally, near the stern, the gunboat mounts another twin 40mm that can fire 150 rounds per barrel per minute, like the twin 40 forward. It may be aimed and fired by a Mark 51 director in a bucket abaft the after 20s. A steel splinter shield provides ammunition stowage for each 40mm position. A similar shield protects each 20mm position. Cubic foot for cubic foot, she's among the most heavily armed vessels in the fleet. A pint-sized floating gun platform that can bring a lot of weapons to bear to protect the LVT and boat groups throughout an amphibious operation to permit the landing of the troops. Additional destructive power is supplied by the new type armament fired from these simple launching devices. These are assembled in 2 groups of 5, fixed athwart ships and located just abaft the bow gun. They are secured firmly to the deck by welded steel plates and reinforcements, making a total of 10 launchers fixed to release their charge in the direction of the bow. For that reason, the crew of whatever type gun is forward is responsible for handling and loading the 4.5 barrage rockets that go in the launchers to avoid being in the line of fire. These are fed one atop the other into the launchers the way these dummy rockets are being loaded here. With their fuses attached, they are set in motion by a knife-edge electric contact that connects with the base of each rocket as it reaches the bottom position, gravity fed downward by the weight of the rockets above it. Each launcher fires 12 rockets, and since there are 10 launchers, a total of 120 rockets can be fired on a target area in a single salvo. The launchers cannot be aimed except by aiming the bow of the ship. They are fixed at a 45-degree angle to the deck and firmly secured. The regular movement of the deck aids the dispersion of the registry on the beach. The rocket body is a bomb loaded with TNT fitted to a threaded pipe filled with a propellant charge. Those tags attached to the fuses of the rockets loaded there, like this one, are put there for you to read carefully. They're a constant double reminder of the terrible amount of damage you can do to the ship instead of the enemy if you don't take time to handle the rockets with the amount of care and skill with which they were made to be handled. So be savvy. Read them. I say again, read them. An electrical rocket firing control system provides two safety plugs, one in an electrician's locker in the deck house, the other in the con, where the gunnery officer is responsible for seeing that the forward section is cleared of all personnel before completing the circuit. A control panel in the con allows him to fire a single rocket for ranging purposes. Or the entire salvo can be fired for maximum effect on the target. Each rocket explodes on contact with the same lethal effect as a 105-millimeter shell or a 20-pound bomb. So much for the LCS L3 in terms of armament. Now look at some extra items that add up to make her an extra useful vessel. For salvage operations or towing, she carries a special heavy cable on the stern anchor winch. For navigation, there's a gyro compass repeater in the con, another in the pilot house, and another in the radio room. Below decks, in the engineering space, there's a distilling unit that can produce 1,000 gallons of fresh water a day. This is a Johnson P500 pump. There's one forward and one aft. Both can pump 500 gallons of water a minute at about 100 pounds pressure. They're gasoline-powered and portable for use anywhere on or off the ship. They can be rigged with 1.5 or 2.5-inch hose and used to pump out flooded compartments or as auxiliaries to the ship's firefighting system. Two Chrysler Hale pumps are located on the main deck astern. These are used to supply hose lines leading forward. Each is coupled to a manifold aft, which provides additional outlets, and thence, by means of 3.5-inch lines, to a 7-outlet manifold on the forecastle, immediately forward of the bow gun. Both the Johnson and the Chrysler Hale pumps utilize seawater supplied by suction lines leading overside. All told, the gunboat can bring about 2,400 gallons of water a minute to play for the purpose of fighting fires. As a matter of fact, experiments to test her value to the forces afloat as a firefighting ship may prove her useful in a dozen different ways to help solve complicated problems of damage control. One firefighting weapon is particularly outstanding. On the bow, a monitor with a 1 3/4-inch tip delivers 909 gallons of water a minute at 100 pounds pressure. Or with a 2-inch tip, 1,189 gallons at 100 pounds pressure. In addition, each gunboat has an allowance of 1.5 and 2.5-inch fog applicators in various lengths to make a screen behind which she can approach and smother oil or gasoline fires. A Bessler generator on the stern converts a special type fog oil into a heavy cloud of protective smoke which is useful in any screening operation. It can provide cover for demolition units working ashore or close inshore. It can provide convoy or force protection, particularly against enemy torpedo plane attacks. And most important, it can draw a curtain between the assault beach and the approaching boat waves to confuse and hinder enemy observation and fire control. So you've got to be handy at a lot of things to qualify as a member of the ship's company in good standing. You're expected to be better than average as an officer, of which you are 5, or as a member of the crew, of which you are 65. That includes 2 cooks. Nice guys, even though they always louse up the act. Oh yes, one more. On the ball, Mac, on the ball. From stem to stern, this is a ship for a crew to be proud of. The kind that takes action stations up front with the best of them when the stakes are high. A fighting ship in the finest tradition of a fighting navy. That's to give you some idea what a gunboat is. Now about what a gunboat does in action. We're paying a visit to Island X in company with a sea-going caravan of LSTs loaded with men and tanks and landing craft, the calling cards of amphibious war. On schedule, we deliver them to the transport